Good afternoon to everyone. Today we are going to deal with the importance of law of diminishing marginal utility. As we know that the law of diminishing marginal utility given by New Classical Economics Professor Alfred Marshall in his book Principles of Economics published in 1890. And the law of diminishing marginal utility states that other things being remaining constant with an increase in the stock of commodity consumed, its marginal utility goes on falling. It means the additional benefit which a person derives by consuming one more extra additional unit, it goes on falling. So, in this video lecture, we have to discuss what is the importance or what is the significance of law of diminishing marginal utility. So, law of diminishing marginal utility has great economic significance, theoretical as well as practical. From the theoretical point of view, the law is most important because the law explains the behavior and the equilibrium condition of rational consumer with respect single want and single commodity. So, this law is useful to the consumer because as per the law of diminishing marginal utility, by consuming more and more units of commodity, satisfaction starts diminishing. So, already we had discussed law of diminishing marginal utility that with an increase in the stock of commodity consumed, its marginal utility goes on falling. So, this law helpful to the consumer because as per the law of diminishing marginal utility, by consuming more and more units of commodity, satisfaction starts decline. So, on the basis of law of diminishing marginal utility, consumer spend his limited income or money to purchase suitable quantity of commodity which maximize his satisfaction. It means the law of diminishing marginal utility helps to the consumer to obtain maximum satisfaction with limited resources. So, a rational consumer acts according to law of diminishing marginal utility. While arranging his expenditure, consumer try to spend his income in a manner in which the consumer yield maximum satisfaction in his given limited income. A consumer will buy the commodity as long as marginal utility is greater than its price. So, already we have seen as consumer consumes same product again and again in a quick succession rapidly over a given period of time, the marginal utility goes on falling. It means when consumer consumes same product again and again in a quick succession rapidly, the consumption of extra additional unit, it gives less satisfaction. So, law of diminishing marginal utility helps to consumer where to stop purchasing, how to purchase goods, what goods should be purchased. Okay. So, law of diminishing marginal utility helpful to the consumer in achieving maximum satisfaction. It helps consumer to buy commodity as long as the marginal utility is greater than its price. The law of diminishing marginal utility guide to the consumer in planning their budget so as to achieve maximum satisfaction from the available limited resources. So, as per the schedule, we can observe that when consumer consumes the first unit of apple, he derives 8 satisfaction. When he consumes second unit of apple, he derives 6 satisfaction. When he consumes third unit of apple, he derives 4 satisfaction. When he consumes fourth unit of apple, he derives 2 satisfaction. And when he consumes fifth unit of apple, he derives 0 satisfaction. So, that is the law of diminishing marginal utility that states with an increase in the stock of commodity consumed, marginal utility goes on falling. So, here in this schedule we can observe at the fifth unit of apple, consumer derives 0 satisfaction. It means that fifth unit of apple shows the consumer equilibrium, it shows the point of satisfaction or it shows the point of satiety. It means till the fifth unit of apple, the consumer don't want to consume less than fifth unit, and don't want to consume more than fifth unit of apple. So in short, the explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility helps to the consumer to attain maximum satisfaction with limited resources. How to attain maximum satisfaction with the limited resources? This law helps to consumer for purchasing. It means what goods should be purchased, at what price goods should be purchased. So it is, in short, it's helpful to the consumer, as well as the law of diminishing marginal utility also helpful to the producer. So law of diminishing marginal utility also helps to the producer in increasing sales or to determine the price for the product. The producer reduces the price of the product for the purpose of increasing sales. When seller or producer reduces the price of the product, the consumers purchase more quantities of that product to obtain maximum satisfaction given their income. So as they buy more quantities, the marginal utility of the last rupee diminishes, so sales of the product increases. So explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility also helps to the producer how to increase the sales. Explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility also helpful to the producer how to determine the price for their product. Then it also helps to the producer for diversification in production. It means we know that the use of the same goods make us feel bored, its utility diminishes in our estimation. So we want variety in several products such as soap, toothpaste, pen, etc. So therefore this law also helps in bringing variety in consumption as well as production. So as per the explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility, we know that when consumer consumes same product again and again, then marginal utility goes on diminish. So that explanation helps to producer to bring variety in their production. So next, law of diminishing marginal utility also helps to the monopolist. So monopolist, it means seller. So monopolist, it means it refers to a seller who has complete control over his production of supply as well as the price of product. So law of diminishing marginal utility helps to the monopolist to practice price discrimination, that is charging different price to different consumer for the same product. What I am saying, the law of diminishing marginal utility also helps to the monopolist, and the monopolist, it means the seller who has complete control over product, supply and the price of product. Explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility helps to monopolists for the price discrimination. And the price discrimination, it means the charging different price to different consumer for the same product. So monopolists may charge different price to the different consumer. For example, monopolists charge high price to the rich consumer, and for the same product monopolists can charge low price for the same product to the poor consumer. He can charge different price for the different consumer because as per the explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility, the marginal utility of money is low to the rich people and the marginal utility of money is high to the poor people, and therefore monopolist charges high price to the rich people and charges low price to the poor people for the same product, and that is known as price discrimination. So explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility helps to the monopolist as well as it is also helps to the government. So law of diminishing marginal utility is helpful to the government to implement various economic policies such as public distribution system, then social justice, etc. It helps to improve the welfare of the people in the society, and the law of diminishing marginal utility also helps for equal distribution of national income, and that leads to increase in a social welfare. The law of diminishing marginal utility helps government authorities to frame the proper welfare policies. The government adopts various welfare measures for the benefit of the poor. Welfare measures can be such as food subsidy to the poor people, then free education, free health services, and so on. So, explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility also helps to the government to implement the various economic policies such as free food, free education, free health services, and so on. So, with the explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility, government can impose high taxes to the rich people, and by collecting taxes, the collected tax amount divert to the beneficiary of poor people. Then it is also helpful to the finance minister. The law of diminishing marginal utility guides to the finance minister to frame the progressive taxation policy. It helps to reduce economic inequalities. The law is also useful to the economics experts, bankers, and modern economics to frame various economic policies. So, as per the law of diminishing marginal utility, we know that as income increases, the marginal utility of income decreases. So, government can charge higher tax to the higher income group and the lower tax to the lower income group. Also, the indirect tax such as sales tax, excise duties, etc. can be more on those goods which enjoy by the rich income class. So, explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility helps to frame taxation policy. So, government or finance minister can impose higher tax on higher income group, or finance minister can impose lower tax on lower income group. Because as per the law of diminishing marginal utility, as the level of income increases, the marginal utility of money decreases. Okay? As the level of income increases, the marginal utility of money decreases. So, therefore, government or finance minister impose higher tax on rich class people or lower tax to the lower income group people. Then the last one, law of diminishing marginal utility helps to understand paradox of value. So, law of diminishing marginal utility explains the value of paradox by showing the difference between value in use and value in exchange. So, value in use refers to usefulness of a commodity, whereas value in exchange, it means the rate of exchange of one commodity in term of another commodity. Some commodities have high value in use but low exchange value, for example water, and some commodities have low value in use but high value in exchange due to scarcity, for example diamond. So, explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility shows that higher total utility, it means the higher total satisfaction determines the greater value in use, and the higher marginal utility denotes greater value in exchange of a commodity. So, law of diminishing marginal utility helps to understand the paradox of value. Paradox means exception. It means there are certain goods purchase higher value in use but low value in exchange, and certain goods purchase higher value in exchange but low value in use, for example diamond. So, this paradox we can understand with the explanation of law of diminishing marginal utility. So, these are the importance or significance of law of diminishing marginal utility. Next video lecture we will discuss drawbacks of marginal utility.